Hello and welcome back. In this video session, we want to explore Kaizen a lot more. I love this topic because it is very applicable to our daily lives and builds a good habit, wants you to be better, right? This thinking, this philosophy wants you to be better, and is applicable to not just your personal self, but it's like all aspects of you, right? Your health, your career, your work, right? Your relationships. So it is not just studying for exam or studying to be lean expert. Not everyone wants to be a lean expert. You can be, but then not everyone wants to be. You might have better things to do. However, all these concepts that we talked about, they are also, I kept saying that and emphasizing that, they are also very applicable to our personal lives. And especially this Kaizen. And I do keep that in mind all the time, right? Of course, there are times when we are distracted because we are very focused on chasing the deadline and whatever is this, chasing the bus and chasing the MRT train. Um, but yeah, Kaizen is something you can look forward to implementing it in your life and then experience the benefits. So what is Kaizen? Kaizen, as the so-called definition, uh, says continuous improvement, but that is really selling it short. Kaizen is thinking, is a concept that prompts one, like the company, the business, the production line, to want to be better, not once, not treat it as a once in a year house cleaning exercise, not as a project, but continuously, right? Continuously, as if Kaizen itself is a operation, is a process operation. So this company has an invisible processing line called Kaizen, right? So you keep improving your own state through the time axis. This thinking, right? This yearning for a betterment is what Kaizen embodies. Always looking for improvement at all levels, all personnel, all the time. So this all and all, right? Periodically stressing to identify problems, yields long-term improvement in performance. So we Kaizen is, yeah, looks like a little bit of a massive local optimization exercise repeated again and again, right? And we learn in mathematical theories, local optimization need not necessarily imply global optimization. But the word Kaizen here is about doing things. It's not about mathematical theory where going from minus infinity to infinity is in a flash. In real life, you don't do that, right? In real life, there is humus, the earth, the physics that affects things. And Kaizen, in particular, links human to things because Kaizen cannot be done without human. Kaizen has no meaning if there is no human there to initiate the the improvement. And of course, a non-thinking person, one who is not aware of improvements, who is not wanting that improvement, one who doesn't have the initiative to want to be better the next hour, the next day, right, will not be initiating these actions to perform betterments, whatever betterments mean, right? And it is not also a top-down approach. No, it is not a central thinking that the top already has a vision of what is betterment, the state of betterment, a better factory, and then asking the lower rank and file to make it happen. Again, that approach, that structure, that way of doing things, not Kaizen, right? Kaizen is very grassroots, from originating from grassroots level. Um, the central movement is betterment, but the how, the when, the what to improve, right? All these are really up to the grassroots to think, on the rank and file to see, detect, ideate, and then think of a solution to do it. If you need a bit of resources, sure, because top level will also support. So that's the whole spirit. I might even use the word spirit or philosophy of Kaizen. Yeah. So it is it's like let's have better health, that kind of movement and slogan. So Kaizen is like, let's have a better process operation. Let's have a leaner, healthier process operation. And that's the whole idea of Kaizen. Okay, so if you buy into this idea, the how to do it, what to do it, when do you do it, who is going to do it, you will find answers to them. All right. So uh yeah, so I think I'm giving it a very um very as concrete as possible, the meaning of Kaizen. So a lot is in the spirit, philosophy, and thinking that should be instituted into everybody, not just the QC department, the CEO, or only the few rank and file designated as Kaizen personnel. Right? Not like that, huh? This thinking embodies not just the thinking, but also certain ways of carrying out, right? Like always, all the time, all levels, all personnel. Okay. Then, in the pursuit of Kaizen, in the pursuit of happiness, there are at least some standardized ways, right? People have explored ways and crystallized them into reusable tools for other process, other factory, other companies to consider, right? To think of how to localize it in your own operations context or company context. So these are very generic because you're supposed to localize it, but they kind of guide you as to what to think, right? So for example, plan, do, check, act, PDCA, right? We keep saying PDCA, PDCA. Something that even the MBA folks are supposed to be learning this. Plan, do, check, act. It's like aim, fire, right? You want to keep that in mind. Then whenever you pick up the gun to hunt a wild animal or something, you remember, oh, aim, fire, so I better aim first. So if you learn it as, if you didn't learn or you just learn from the wrong source, fire, aim, then you shoot first, then you aim, right? So, which is wrong sequence. So at least this has value add in the sense that it teaches you to starting with planning. Also think first, right? This plan could be also identifying problem. Is this a problem actually? So could it be that when you do, that means when you correct it, when you improve it, it affects other parts that will make it worse, right? So you want to plan first, see the effects, the interconnectivities, the impact, right, of the change. Then you do, and what you plan and what you do may not gel very well, as you might have already found out in your various little projects in your lives, right? So if you think this is the design, this is the way to correct it, then you correct it. It may be insufficient, right? So you should have corrected more. Or so planning was one thing. It could be overdue, overkill, and so you spend more resources trying to correct something that's very trivial, right? Then you check again. Yeah? Is it giving that effect? Does it affect others? Do you Kaizen yourself and then de-Kaizen other people, right? Because operations and resources, they are very tightly connected, right? So if you summon more overtime workers, does it mean, because companies are not immediately hiring more overtime workers, does it mean that other departments, other resources will have less overtime people and thereby affecting their productivity and thereby creating new bottlenecks maybe? Yeah, so check, right? And then act, right? So acting on the information you gather from the checking. So collect the data to and then roll out, scale up. Right? Scale up means yes, this works. Then you tell everybody, and then you uh, expand. So Kaizen is less about marketing this success. Kaizen is about just keep on thinking, keep on improving, keep on doing. Less about, hey, this works. Let's ensure that this is copied throughout the company. Of course, this part somehow will automatically follow because top management is always looking at cost-effective improvements. that can scale, right? So they will be doing it anyway. So Kaizen is not saying that you should pay attention to this, but plan, do, check, act, right? So that's one thing. The 5 why, that's another tool. So Kaizen says, if you have been holding back on asking and irritating your supervisor, why? But then why? But I don't understand why this further, right? So if you are hesitating, Kaizen says, please do it. Instead of asking 3 whys, you should be asking 5 whys. So when I see this, I always think about the kids, right? Uh, the kids will always not stop at the first answer. Um, Mom, there's an ice cream uncle selling ice cream. I want to buy ice cream, right? So mom will say, no, don't eat so much ice cream, right? Why? It's delicious. Why can't I eat more ice cream? Oh, because then you will have sweet tooth, and then your teeth will drop. Why? Why is it that I'll have sweet tooth? So they won't stop, right? So their whys keep coming, and Kaizen says that's a good thing. In fact, you should do it more. Okay, so here's an example. Um, the Why are the parts defective? Because we see the defective parts lying around on that particular workstation. Because here comes the answer from the line worker: machines were not maintained properly, right? Machines were not maintained properly, so supervisor should ask more. Why were machines not maintained properly? Then comes the answer or the investigation: operators were not trained properly. Oh, I see. Sure, that makes sense. But then why? Why aren't they trained properly? I thought the company has budget. I thought people have been rostered and to attend classes, and they even get certificates. Why were operators not trained properly? Is it the instructor? Is it the teacher? Is it the timing? Is it that our workers are sleepy? No, operators kept quitting. They learned, they got certified, but they got hired by other companies. 800. Turnover is high. Uh, or why did operators keep quitting? Right? We do pay them competitive salaries. Right? Working at the machines is repetitive, uncomfortable, and boring. Here comes the answer. Oh, okay. So it's not about the salary. It's the nature of work. So fine. Don't go and try to increase the salary unnecessarily. Everyone welcomes that. But then it's not addressing the root cause. The root cause is, if you increase the salary, you didn't solve the root cause, it's still boring, right? It's still repetitive, and people still quit. I have had enough of this, you know, brain dead job that basically doesn't need my mind, just repeat my hands movements, right? So people will start quitting anyways if you don't address the root cause. So finally, why is the work repetitive, uncomfortable, and boring? And then comes the investigation, right? Maybe there's no ready person to answer this question. Oh, because tasks were designed without considering their long-term effect on the operators. So the task could be to move your hand one full circle to turn that wheel for stamping metal or whatnot. So you just move one circle, then you move another circle, then you move another circle. Yes, it's very good exercise if you look at it that way, but uh, that's work, right? So people will look at it as boring and repetitive. So maybe, yeah, in the initial stage, when such a movement to stamp the metals using this stamping machine was done with the idea to increase the capacity. So this station better be able to stamp 5,000 pieces per hour. So there's no time to rest, and you can only do what is being described in the job scope by repeating this circular movement. So end up it is uncomfortable, boring, repetitive, right? So well, let's try to automate. Is it possible to find a machine to automate the you know repeated stamping? Oh, cannot, because you need to press down a little bit, whatnot. Then can we do a bit of job rotation? So after 30 minutes, this worker will switch to the downstream station and exchange job. so that the repetition is diluted, capacity is maintained, but repetition is diluted. Things like that. Right? So if you know the root cause, so the 5 why is not just like kids, right, to irritate the mom, but to find the root cause. What is the primary cause of seeing so many defective parts lying on the table? And Toyota says asking why one time is very superficial. You might get the wrong answer. You might be curing the wrong problem, the wrong source. Asking 3 times, Toyota says, with our experience, not enough because our processing pipeline is 7 football field wide, right? It takes the car 7 days to meander through the entire fields of operations to finally become a product. So and the and the supply chain that feed into our processing steps is also not so linear, right? It may be also a bit of a complex sub-supplier situation and whatnot. So without asking deep enough, like 5 levels deep, 5 whys, right? Toyota thinks it is insufficient to at least touch the root cause. After 5 whys, you may still not be touching the root cause, but 5 whys should work most of the time, says Toyota. Right? How come not 10 whys? Maybe even better, right? Too tedious. You might not be getting the right answer also. Maybe like after 4 whys, you're approaching the right answer. After 8 whys, you're swinging to the wrong cause again. So, okay, so 5 why is a tool. 5, right? 5 is the magic number because you and I can come up with a number, but we don't have the depth of decades of massive, complex car manufacturing experience to come up with this magic number. So I want you to also appreciate this 5, right? So it's a crystallization of knowledge, wisdom, and experience that 5 is appropriate. How come not 1? How come not 10? Right now, yeah. So this 5 is the gift from Toyota, the number. Next is Pareto analysis. And what this means is a kind of both a conclusion and a chart, a bar chart, right? Typically shown as a bar chart. So the Pareto analysis conclusion, right? I'm saying conclusion because it just gives a statement that 80% of the problems can be or can usually be attributed to 20% of the causes. So it's like the 80-20 rule. So a particular retail shop, for example, selling a lot of stationery, right? Pens, staplers, erasers, whatever it is, color pencils and all. So a lot, right? It's without analyzing the profit and loss financial statements and everything, one can like give a quick guess. Okay, shop owner, I think your pens contribute to about 80% of your revenue, don't you think? Why? Because people keep buying pens and then losing it, right? And then finishing up the ink, and then dropped it, and then the pen cannot be written anymore, and have to renew, right, and buy new ones. So that would be contributing mostly to the sales. What about the erasers, the color pencils, and all that? Yeah, occasionally when the parents come about and then bring their kids, they may want to buy. Occasionally they buy as a birthday gifts, right? But it's not the norm, and most people come into this shop to buy pens, various kinds of pens, right? Markers and all that. Is that true, shop owner? Then it is very likely that the shop owner will say, "How did you know, right? I haven't shown you my books." Yeah, because that's usually how things work, right? And why would the shopkeeper actually knowingly keep the rest of the so-called non-selling items, right? It's to offer variety, right? You cannot be called a pen shop, right, or marker shop, right? And then you just sell pens and markers. You might not be able to attract other people. So when people come in to buy color pencils, they say, "Hey, I have been looking for this purple pen. I haven't been able to find it. You sell, okay, good." So they also buy, right? So it's like that kind of idea, offering variety. But as a result, this 80/20 still works, right? So it's a very it's like bell curve. How come things want to exhibit statistically a bell curve shape, right? That's the same kind of observation and conclusion that Pareto offers. So 80% of the time, the problems are associated with 20% of the causes. So if there are 10 reasons why there are defects on the table, right? Workers not trained, salary problem, that means human problem, machine problem, process problem, training problem, right? And you list 10 factors. Then it can be said that under Pareto analysis, in fact, before analysis, you already can know that you just need to find two primary ones that basically will explain why 80% of those defects are found on the table, the majority of the problems. So maybe it's the people and the machine, for example. Okay, so that's the rule. So always try to remember the 80/20 rule and try to find the 20%. Because if your aim is to identify all 100% of the causes, you may be spending a lot of time and energy and even people to search for the remaining 80%. It's like increasingly hard. You want to another term for this is the low in terms of problem solving is the low hanging fruit, right? So the low hanging fruit, 20% of those fruits are low hanging. So why would you want to bring a ladder and climb up and pick those that are higher ups that are usually not so ripe? Why can't you just pluck the low hanging fruits, right? So that's the 20% rule, and it's a kind of wisdom. So if you don't use this wisdom, then you're just doing the hard work, right now, yeah? So please use this idea. So 20% of the causes explained, right, or are the likely reasons why 80% of the problems are found. Next tool, the fourth tool we have to offer is the cause and effect, or the fishbone diagram at the bottom here, right? More because it looks like a eaten up fish bone, eaten up fish, leaving the bones behind, right? So the main spine is the link to these branches, right? And these branches, like mostly are M: material, machine, man, method, measurements, and then nature, environment. So this fishbone chart is trying to give a guide. That means you don't need to sit there and think of a so-called mind map or something. Just draw it as a fishbone chart and think of these axes. Material, right? So what do we have to look at? What's the problem with material? Remember my example on Toyota's airbag uh, issue, right? So they imported the defective airbag mechanisms and installed right away. And because there's long working relationship, there wasn't any inspection. Maybe initially there was, right? When during onboarding, it's like hiring an employee, initial working relationship with a new supplier. It's like there is also an onboarding period, right, for Toyota to know the supplier more, and for the supplier to study about the habits, the requirements, the unspoken needs of Toyota, right? So there's a mutual learning, maybe honeymoon period. So after a while, after 5 years, maybe 10 years of working, there is no more inspection because it seems to be a waste of time to keep checking the outputs of this reliable supplier. knowing that they have very stringent QC checks themselves, right? Having learned from Toyota, and why should we be checking again, right? So end up there is no inspection, right? So we just write down these observations or these wrongdoings, right? Machine, what's wrong with machine, right? Faulty MC setting. So this is just about an example taken from a tooling context or whatever. Insufficient MCs, uh, not maintained properly, right? Due to some observation of the charts. Hey, how come nobody signed off? Like nobody signed off at all. Nobody checked at all. No, not maintained, right? And so on. So the idea is that we can do this kind of mind map, right? Not the arbitrary as you like, just anyhow join, but Toyota already used this to sort of figure things out, put things visible, right, on this mind map, make them visible, make the faults visible, make the wrongdoings visible. Not trying to find blame. Please remember, this is not about not maintained properly. Who is supposed to maintain and did maintain, and therefore I will, you should be penalized. This is not about finding fault. This is about finding the root cause. Where is the problem? Or what are the multiple problems? Do we observe some sort of a 20% majority being the same cause, right? Something like that. So the fishbone chart is like a visualization tool to make invisible uh, problems, lack of doing things. I mean, how do you describe that, right? Lack of doing things, wrongdoings, make them visible in relationship with all other problems, right? So that makes it a lot easier because then it is not you. You can memorize maybe, all right? You can visualize in your brain. But we are discussing a complex problem and you need feedback, inputs, maybe suggestions and corrections and ideas from other colleagues and teammates. So if we don't share the common mind map, so to speak, then we have a problem, right? You're talking about your vision, he's talking about his idea, and so on. So the fishbone diagram has this uh, anchoring effect of making everyone share the same mind map, so to speak, the fishbone chart, and then we can point at, do you think this is the main cause? And everybody can also point finger at that main cause. Okay, good. Then let's think of a way to solve it, and let's observe again and come back in 1 week's time. Yeah, so that makes it very workable rather than we just sit down, talk about it, and then everyone does his own correction without synchronization, without coordination. And the fifth idea, these tools are ideas, huh? They are methods or suggestions. So the fifth idea is about Kaizen projects. If you remember, or maybe you rewind the video, right? If you remember, I started off saying that Kaizen is not a project. Kaizen is all personnel, all the time, at all levels, right? So it should be an ongoing thing, never stopping, and then keep on going, keep on going. Then how come there is a Kaizen project idea here? And that's why it is an idea, right? So if you kind of take the ongoing improvement, never-ending betterment, that thought as the default, as the you know, presiding philosophy, then a one-off improvement project is rather crazy. It's rather an idea. Yeah. So Kaizen people would not think of, let's have a project. Why should we have a project? We are improving all the time, right? So that would be the 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 way they react if you really have Kaizen in everyone. So Kaizen project, let me explain, right? Says this person with the Kaizen project idea. Let's have a fixed timing. Okay. And it is now a little bit top down, or rather guided, not prescribed, but guided process. So led by a process owner, facilitated by an expert. So it's like also not a single authoritative prescribed way of doing Kaizen, because it's as if the leader, the single authoritative leader, already had the solution, just wanting to do my way, right? And that's not the idea. That's not the idea. That means at the start of the 5 days, the process owner obviously facing a problem, a challenge, a difficulty, or maybe not facing anything. Just say that let's meet, everyone see whether there's anything to improve, right? Because I cannot see myself, my own process, whether there's been anything to improve or not. So the process owner, facilitated by an expert who has no stake in the production pipeline, who is going to be free to comment, criticize, right? Why is this flow time taking so long? That's totally unreasonable, right? So the expert will have no promotion penalty, salary penalty, no overtime, extra pays penalty from accusing the process, because the process owner is there, the owner is there, right? Yeah. So the expert uh, can be critical, can also suggest, correction, can also point to general potential area of problems and all that. With cross-functional group and support staff, everybody, including those that are not in the production, cross-functional. For example, accounting people, can you have a representative here? Why? Oh, because you guys keep sitting at the level 5 office. You don't know what our shop floor is doing. So come have a look. Have a look. And then the accounting staff at first wonder why, I'm doing my accounting, how come I got to go to the shop floor, right? Okay, have a look. Then suddenly the accountant actually has a little bit of suggestion, right? Because they keep seeing the numbers. How come the purchase is always so severe, right? The purchase of raw materials or replacement. How come the purchase of replacement is always so large? The amount is always so large. Now I see it, because there's a lot of defects. Hey guys, do you know that because of this, I always see that the account on purchasing for replacement is a huge amount. So thereby giving inputs to this invisible aspect. The line workers will just say, oh, defects, just replace, as if it's free. And now the accountant coming from the horse's mouth tells everyone that, hey, that's why your bonus is lower this year. Right? So it's you will never know. And so cross-functional support is highlighted here. Um, Focus on process problems and waste. Sets measurable targets. Decides on data required. So it's a process, right? Focus on the process problems and waste. Look for waste. Don't help to make the product better. That's the designer's uh, responsibility, and you can't change it when it's being produced, right? So look for waste. Yeah, look for sources where defects can be either reduced or totally uh, removed. Start with kick-off meeting. Guys, we are gathered here today for a 5-day Kaizen project. Our purpose is to look for that kind of briefing is good to synchronize everybody's thoughts. Reviewing lean concepts. So when we talk about waste, guys, you know where to look? Let's revisit, right? There's a heaven, human, and humus sources. There is a 3M, right? And we are Toyota, right? So there is Muli, Muda, and Mura, right? So you do a quick review of all these videos, and then you tour the physical facility. So to see on the ground what could be the problem on the ground. So the Kaizen is very much touching reality. Even though it's a philosophy, it's a thinking, it's a betterment, it's very much in touch with reality. Kaizen tools are used to suggest improvement. So they will, after a few days of data gathering, start drafting out the fishbone chart and putting more and more notes, 3M notes sticking on them, right? And then you have the Pareto analysis when enough data is gathered. And along the way, there's always why. Yeah. So if not, then the people will be touring and writing down why is this process line so long, much longer than what I've seen or in another factory of this company, right? So all these things. Next and last slide is on Toyota production system itself. And the whole focus is more on the house of Toyota. Okay, so the house of Toyota says, Heijun car, remember Heijun car, right? So uh, to mix up all the production models, you're trading off cost efficiency for ability to respond more readily with lower cost of changes. And then standardized work, right? Um, I think this is TQM, Toyota Total Quality Management, and then supply chain. Okay, so all these are operational stability factors or capabilities that will allow you to uh, achieve the ceiling. Which is the highest quality, lowest cost, shortest lead time by eliminating waste and wasted time and activity. So basically, the best of everything. You want highest quality at the lowest cost. That means you don't want repeated works. You don't want to produce defects, then correct defects or throw away the defects, right? So lowest cost, no repetition, no defect. That's the best. And you make them in the shortest lead time possible because shorter lead time means you have very little WIP. Remember Little's law? Same FR, shorter flow time, lesser WIP on the conveyor belt. So if there's a change, the items on the conveyor belt not many, so the loss will not be too high. The cost of change will not be too high. And in the middle, there are these things like just in time, practice that, right? Culture of continuous improvement, Jidoka, and actually a few more pillars, right? So that's the idea, just to kind of put everything in place of the jigsaw puzzle. So here, there are all these declarations. All work must be completely specified. Customer supplier connection should be direct, unambiguous. If it's subject to easy misunderstanding, please clarify with customer. So all pathways should be simple and direct. All these are just, again, to reduce Muri, Muda, right, and Mura. All improvements should be made under guidance of teacher. Teacher here means the lead expert, not classroom teacher. The lead expert using scientific method means data collection. Don't just say I think, but where's the proof? So they are very scientific here. They're very data oriented. They are very data analytical. Okay. Supply chain. Toyota definitely has to look at supply chain. Now, supply chain, remember the example I gave earlier that Toyota imported defects into the airbag system, right? So your supply chain has to be healthy too. So Toyota has to be healthy. That means has quality, has lean. But then the supply chain has to be healthy too. That means the food you eat into your body, right? So if Toyota is a human, then supply chain will be supplying food. Right? The supplier supplying the food better be a quality food so that your health continues to be good, right? So you are what you eat. You eat something that's bad, fatty, uh, very salty, very sugary. You end up destroying your own health, right? So that's same consideration as Toyota when they think about their supply chain. Have close supplier ties, so close that supplier even opens the books. That means their profit and loss. So would you do that? Because won't you be afraid that, because remember, supplier sells to Toyota. So if supplier says this car seat costs us a lot to manufacture, it costs us $500. So we're going to charge you $1,000. In fact, Toyota wouldn't know if you don't open the books, right? Toyota won't know how much is your cost. So if you charge $1,000 and other people charge around $800, then of course Toyota knows you are expensive, but they don't know how much profit you have. Maybe you're super lean and you are taking a huge chunk of profits from Toyota, and then you are supposed to show Toyota how much profit you earn from them, right? So that's the scary part. Would you, as a supplier, show your books, your profit and loss, your balance sheet? Actually, we only have one factory. When we introduce ourselves, we say we have various factories, when actually uh, just one in various departments, right? So if you are kind of boasting too much, hallucinating and selling to Toyota what you are not or what you cannot do, but you try to say you can do, right? Then when you open up the books, Toyota will know everything. And so would you risk doing that? Yeah. So but for Toyota, if you want to work with us for the long term, then please. Yeah. So Toyota won't force you. If you don't want to open the books, they will work on you on small projects, on and off, no promise. I mean, you're not in my list. You're just on and off ad hoc. And if you want to grow and you want to kind of anchor on Toyota to grow, Toyota is most welcome. But if you want to do that, then remember what I say, Toyota knows that I'm healthy, but I also need to eat healthy food supplied by my on the list, shortlisted suppliers. So open up your books. Show me what you yourself are eating. What is your own food? Are you healthy or not, right? What are the ways that you make sure that you yourself are healthy? How much are you charging me, right? And Toyota is, from what we can read from outside, right, by and large reasonable. They like you. They have the thinking that my suppliers should be profitable. That's good. Yeah, but cannot be super lucrative at my expense, and that I think is reasonable. Yeah. So you should be profitable so that you can grow. Because if you're not profitable, then you work with us for what? Charity? Just to have the bragging right for Toyota? Right? No. Right. So you need to be profitable in the long term. So open up your books, show to us, right? And then they have this very famous uh, way of working with suppliers. Many famous ways. Right? One of these is very impressive to me. So open up your books is one thing. Then they will actually work with the supplier to do what they call cost down. Cost down, cost down. So what is cost down? It's like um, you need to have, you know, $20 of profit. If you sell to Toyota for $100, you need to have $20 of profit. Okay, your cost currently is $80, so we can understand, right? So after opening up the books, Toyota saw that you have $80 of cost, earning $20 of profit from us. Toyota, good, okay, reasonable. But we need cost down because Toyota wants to sell lower priced car, right? Lower cost car, so that either it is passed to the consumer lower price, either it is passed to the distributor lower price, because then you are more competitive. Distributor has better margin. Toyota didn't earn extra cent, but distributor can earn more, so they rather persuade their customers to buy from Toyota. Hey sir, you want to buy BMW? Actually everybody is driving BMW, but Toyota's Alphard is so cool. I show you, right? So they steer customers towards Toyota, and that's good, right? So no matter what, when Toyota sells cars that are having low cost of production and high quality, there's a lot of way to play this. And you have the profit buffer. And for Toyota to sell at low cost the car itself, every parts have to be low cost. If I want to reduce by 10%, it cannot be that the 10% comes only from the engine, compromising the engine design, right? It has to be that all parts reduced by 10%, 12%. Now, some are difficult to reduce, like engine, maybe 9%. Okay, then other parts, 12%. So all components must reduce. So this is the cost down exercise. And the way is not to squeeze the supplier. Hey, supplier, airbag supplier, you have been supplying with us for 10 years. Please, can you cut 10%? Like eat up the supplier just for Toyota to be healthy. No, that's not the thinking. So they will work with supplier and say, open up your books. How much do you use to buy your raw material? How much do you use for your labor salary? How much is your rent for the factory? Yeah, so they work item by item. And then they will say, suppose we cost down this part, will it be okay? You know, so they actually send consultant to work with the supplier and explore possibilities for them to cost down so that they can deliver a 10% cut while still keeping a 20% profit. So they still earn $20, but then they can give to Toyota 10% discount in a healthy way. Isn't that great? Wonderful, right? So that's the way Toyota wants to work in a symbiotic basis with its supply chain. Okay, so supplier consider partners in the venture. Let's venture to make a new hybrid Prius. You want to work with me? Remember 15 years back, or even 2 decades back, Toyota already started exploring hybrid electric cars, and you need new suppliers, right? For those electric components, Toyota will source for supplier, and at that time, if you join Toyota, would you be willing, yeah, to treat Toyota as a partner? That means actually showing the books, explaining how you buy things, do things, always also fearing that Toyota with its might and clout, right, in managing so many thousands of suppliers, wouldn't Toyota go and create a company and then do that themselves, right? After knowing everything that I'm doing to be so successful. So there's always this fear, right? But Toyota, you need to trust, right? So you need to trust. So who is scared of who? Are you scared of Toyota copying you, the supplier, or is Toyota scared of you trying to smoke, give a smoke screen, trying to boast that you are much bigger, much healthier than what you actually are? So who is scared of who, right? So you need to build some trust, and Toyota makes substantial investments, sending their consultants there, even teaching them Toyota production system. It's only that you don't want to learn. But if you are willing to learn, we are very willing to send our experts to even tune for you if you initially don't know. That's the commitment that Toyota. So you want to do work, do job, work harder. Toyota is always very willing, right? So that's the kind of partnership. Leads to improve supplier margins, and that's what I've just shared with you about, right? So they will need you to share with them your books. We be truly honest about your costs so that they will mutually work out some ways. You need to trust that Toyota will not eat you out, the supplier. So if you don't have that trust, that little bit of faith in Toyota's brand, not just the brand in the high quality safe cars, but then the brand in supplier management. So they don't have a reputation for eating up supplier just to enrich Toyota. So you need to have that faith. If you don't have, then very difficult, very difficult. Vendor managed inventory. So this is a big concept that when you the supplier, sell leather car seats to Toyota, you are going to be responsible to ensure that at Toyota's factory site, your own seats are well stocked up. So what's so impactful? Because normally, if Toyota buys from a supplier, right, Toyota will take in those delivered seats, count them, check them, then store inside, right, and never let the supplier come in, right? But then for vendor managed inventories, it means supplier can enter into Toyota, go inside, and even discover that, hey, Toyota, you're also buying from my competitor, right? And potentially discovering that, right? So you can then go inside, check your inventory. Oh, the leather seats for brown color is getting low, down to the last car seat. So it's time for us to get ready, right? So you are supposed to make sure that in a just-in-time basis, all the seats are there. That's vendor. That means relative to Toyota, the vendor is supplier. So supplier, you check and ensure that the inventory in me, Toyota, your customer, is sufficiently stocked in a just-in-time manner. So that's different from the customer, Toyota itself, checking its own stock. When it's low, then Toyota decides when and for how many car seats to be purchased or delivered, right? So that's a very different concept. Small lot sizes, right? So do in small lot sizes. That has got to do with the Heijun car concept. Remember? Yeah. So every model you do in small batch sizes. Not cost efficient, right? But then highly responsive. If there is a increase in volume, customer wants to double the cars purchase, you can just do more batches. But if there's a drastic reduction, your batch maybe is to be cancelled or whatever, right? Re-engineer to some other models. At least the cost will not be so drastic if you have a big batch size. And of course, Toyota originated this SMED, so yeah, they would do that, right? The idea is to reduce setup time all the time. That's always the right direction. Process considerations, some of these, of course, never complete, right? So inventory, scheduling, setup, purchasing. Organizational considerations. Uh, I would think that these blue titles are more important, right? Yeah, because the specifics are very much tied to the industry you're in and the company policy that you know that the company has, whether the company competes by variety or volume, right? Why me? Because I'm the price leader, right? I'm Walmart. I'm always having low priced value for money goods. I'm not saying I'm selling Rolex or fake Rolex watches at discount, right? I'm saying I'm selling a $10 watch. It looks fantastic. You can show off for maybe 1 week. After that, the plastic might start to peel off. That kind of thing, right? So not bad. Okay, and finally, you have one worker, multiple machines. All right, this certainly is very productive, but your worker has to be well trained. And the machine basically looks like high-tech machines, right? Will help to do a few things: reduce setup time, reduce processing time, therefore reducing overall flow times. And these are also batches on the trays or the screws or the whatnot to make a small volume. Small as in maybe in the hundreds or in the thousands, depending on what you are doing. But small relatively speaking. Definitely, this one worker multiple machines is not for mass production. When we say mass, we're talking about conveyor belt flying with a lot of flow units, right? Ka-ching, 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 never ending, right? So that's the kind of mass production. And this way of setting up clearly is not meant for that. You may be producing 1,000 units per hour. That's a lot, right? That's a lot. But for the same kind of items, maybe you're making water bottles. 1,000 water bottles per hour might sound like a lot. But then in that sector, if you're making standardized water bottles like just single color to be sold on the shelves of supermarkets, NTUC, whatnot, right? Then it will be factory setting, conveyor belts, ka-ching, 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 the water bottles will be flying on the conveyor belts. So if you do it like feeding the tray into the machines and then doing it 100 at a time so that after an hour you get 1,000, because of individual bottles will have different pictures, yeah, and maybe even different names and whatnot. Then it's not massive. Number one, and number two, people will buy from you. The kind of customers who buy from you will be different from the kind of customers who buy any of the appropriate water bottles that are sold generally on the shelves of supermarkets. Okay, so that's more like a job shop. So remember the process product matrix. Yeah, so remember that. So to stay on the diagonal, you need to become a job shop. And group technology is basically like one worker, multiple machines. But instead of making one model, you make multiple models, right? Jumbled flows. Without group technology, you will kind of have longer flow time. So this is what it means. Jumbled flows means it goes here, goes there. Look, if you trace out the routes of the flow units, it's crisscrossing, it's very longish, and you can even see like maybe even loops or unnecessary routes, and that's jumbled. But with group technology, some of these machines or stations may be able to do multiple functions so that it will reduce the movements. Remember, movement is one of the ways, right? So reduce the movement of the flow units, therefore also reducing the flow time, or the time for the flow unit to enter into this production step and finally coming out. So if you have a long meandering route, then the flow time is long, and it's never a good thing. It's never a good thing, right? So the item may have higher risk of suffering a defect, and or else being the same constant flow rate. Longer flow time means larger WIP in this whole boundary, right? Little's law. And if you shorten the flow time, then lesser WIP. Remember that lesser WIP, always a good thing. You release the money that is being tied to buying those items that are floating around on the conveyor belt or in the routes. Yeah. Okay, that's all I have to say for this slide. Thank you very much, and see you in the next video.